Hi, it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing my March wrap-up. So I read 6 books in the month of March, which is a little bit on the lower end for me, but I don't know what to tell you. The reading is going slow. No, I do know what to tell you. I actually did a bunch of writing in March, so that kind of put a damper on my reading a bit, but all of the books that I read in March I really enjoyed. There was not one book in March that was lower than 4 stars. The first book that I finished in March was her Wicked Marquess by Stacey Reed. This book was so good. This was 5 stars for me. This was the very last book that we read for Winter of the Wallflower, which is Dana and Kelly's seasonally booked up book club, and each season we have a new theme or a new author, whatever is going on. So all in all, I really liked the season. I'm gonna have a whole Winter of the Wallflower wrap up once I finished 2 more books. Like I said, it was the end of February and into early March was just a real for me. So anyways, really liked this book. I highly recommend it. Nicholas St. Ives, which is the hero in this book, has made it to the top of my book boyfriends so far. Just really like this. I do have to say that there is a content warning on this book. It is not for everyone. There is mentions of rape, more specifically a gang rape. But if you're into the darker historical romances, I highly suggest you pick this up because it's phenomenal. And it's definitely not going to be my last Stacey Reed. Loved it so much. The next book that I read in March was Faith Eater by Karen Marie Moning. And this series just keeps getting better and better. The end of this book leaves on kind of a cliffhanger. I haven't picked up the 4th book yet just because I was trying to get some other reading done before I went back into this world. But seriously, if you have not read this series yet, this is book 3. I'm not going to go too much into it because spoilers, and I don't want to ruin it for other people who haven't read this yet. But oh my god, it just keeps getting better and better, and I'm really intrigued as to where it's going in the next book because shit happens to Mac, and I just it just shit gets real. So I gave this 4.5 stars. Only because I was hoping that there would be more between Mac and Jericho. And yes, I docked it 1/2 star because they haven't fully hooked up yet. And I need them to. I'm hoping that happens in book 4. I think it's going to happen in book 4. But we'll see, because where Mac is left off at the end of this book is just the war is happening. The war between the Fae world and the human world is about to go down. And yeah. So if you haven't read this series yet, do it. It's very enjoyable. I love it. and I pulled a Dana and I just dropped it. The next book I read, you guys are going to be so proud of me because I was able to knock out a couple of the books that are on my goals for this year. So the next book that I read was Wicked Intentions by Elizabeth Hoyt, and this series is it's not disappointing at all. I went into it knowing that this was her most popular series, this is her most beloved series, and I understand why. I really, really enjoyed this. This series takes place in 1737, so it's a little bit earlier than the time periods that I'm used to, but I'm not mad about it. This series does touch upon more religious aspects at times. So the heroine in this book, her name is Temperance, and she is a widow. Her husband died. I don't remember why or like what he died from or how long ago, but she's a widow and she helps her brother with the home for this orphan home that they are in charge of, and they're doing really great things. They live in a really crappy area called St. Giles. And Temperance is dealing with some inner turmoils with the fact that she has these sexual desires and she feels that she is sinning by having these sexual desires. And guess what? You're not, okay? We all have them. It's a human condition for the most part. So she has this religious belief that she is sinning because she has these sexual desires. And in comes Lazarus Huntington. His name is Lord Care, and he has a wild sexual needs. And he is intrigued by Temperance, and he just wants to make her feel all these things. And he kind of just wants to make her feel, and he wants to hurt her just to help her and make her feel, and it's a wild ride, and I really, really enjoyed this book. Ultimately, I gave it 4 stars. There was something missing for me to give it a full 5 stars, but I really, really did enjoy this book, and I am so happy to be reading this series. So then on to the next book that I read in March, and that is Notorious Pleasures by Elizabeth Hoyt, book 2 in the Maiden Lane series. The heroine in this is Lady Hero Batten. Yeah, Hero Batten, and she is the sister of a duke, and she is affianced. I hate that word. Okay, her fiance is the Marquis of Mandeville, I believe, and the hero in this is not her fiance, but her fiance's brother, Lord Griffin Redding, and he is the one who takes care of the finances in the family because his older brother is not good with money and pretty much went broke. So Griffin ended up turning the family around, albeit with some unlawful ways of doing it. He is a gin distiller, and in this time there are lots of people against the gin distilling because it is affecting a lot of the poor community's well-being and lives, I should say. So Hero's brother, the Duke, is very adamant and against these gin distillers. So there's this animosity that Hero is trying to save Griffin in a way by getting him to shut down his gin distillery, because obviously she figures it out. But the love that happens between Hero and Griffin is just, it's so sweet. I love it so much. I gave this one 4 stars also, or was it 4.5? 4 stars. I gave this 4 stars. And I think I liked this one. I think at the beginning I wasn't sure I was going to like it more than Wicked Intentions, but by the end of this book I liked this more than Wicked Intentions. But seriously, I'm really loving this series. I'm so happy that I made this a goal for me for 2021 to read this entire series, because I really love it. And every book that I've read so far, which is 3, it deals with some kind, it's definitely more of a gothic historical romance, and I really, really like that. So, the 6th, I missed a book. In between Wicked Intentions and Notorious Pleasures, I read Too Hot to Handle by Tessa Bailey. Yes, by Tessa Bailey. This book is about 4 siblings. I believe it's 4 siblings, and the names are eluding me right now because that always happens when I'm reading on my Kindle. Oh my god, what are their names? I don't remember. But it deals with 4 siblings, and they recently lost their mother, I think within a year ago, and the main character, the heroine, she finds a journal that her mother left, and her mother's last dying wish was for her 4 children to take a road trip to, I think, New York or New Jersey, somewhere on the East Coast, and participate in this challenge of jumping in the icy cold Atlantic for some, I think it was for a charity. Similar, I think, to the polar plunge. So they embark on this journey, and they don't really get along very well, and it's not that they don't get along, it's the fact that they don't really talk to each other. It's a very weird sibling relationship happening between these 4 siblings, because I'm very close to my brother, and I'm very close to my husband's brother and sister. So it's very weird to me that these 4 siblings just don't talk to each other. They don't get along, or they just, I don't know, they don't seem to have like this sibling connection that I would assume siblings would have, because that's what I have with my siblings and with my husband's siblings, and it's very strange to me. But they go on this journey, and their car breaks down, and the hero in it, he rides a motorcycle, and he passes them, and he stops to see if they need any help, and he takes the heroine back to the town that they just passed to get the tow truck and everything. And it's like an instant attraction, but it didn't feel very insta-lovey to me, and it was very hot. It was very hot. Tessa Bailey knows how to bring the steam, so let's just say that. But I really did like this. I gave it 4 stars. 4 stars. I believe there's a book for each of the siblings, so I will continue on, but I did really enjoy it. If you like Tessa Bailey, or if you really like steamy scenes. I highly recommend Tessa Bailey. She definitely knows how to bring the steamy talk. So then the last book that I read in March, which I'm technically still reading it, but since it's the 31st and I plan on finishing this today, I just really wanted to get this video filmed. I'm putting it in this wrap-up video because I know I'm going to finish it before tomorrow, which is April. So that is the third book in the Maiden Lane series, and this is Scandalous Desires. And I'm halfway through this, and I can already tell you this is going to be a 5-star read. 5-star read. And let me just show you the step back for this. I posted it on my Instagram, but if you're not a follower, here you go. Look how beautiful. And the heroine in this is actually Temperance's sister. I think she's the youngest of the Makepeace siblings, and her name is Silence. She is another widow, and in the first book she has this scandal that kind of happens. Well, not kind of, it does happen, and it puts a damper on her marriage at the time because she was trying to save a problem that happened with her husband. And so she goes to the river pirate, who is charming Mickey O'Connor, and from book one I knew that there was going to be some kind of love story between Silence and Mickey because it was setting up that way. And by the end of book two I knew that that's what was going to happen because of what happened with Silence's husband. Spoilers, I'm sorry, but it's kind of not, because you can read them in order or not in order, and I mean, okay, anyways, so at the beginning of this book, charming Mickey O'Connor kidnaps, he kidnaps his daughter back, which he left in the care of Silence. So he has enemies and he's trying to protect his daughter and Silence. So he basically forces her to stay under his roof by saying that Mary Darling is staying in his house, and Silence says that she goes wherever the baby goes. And Mickey says that she can keep Mary Darling once the enemies have been taken care of. So that's the premise of the story, and there's so many like Beauty and the Beast oh my god, what's the word? Sprinklings. I don't know the word. There's so many things that happen in this book that reminds me of Beauty and the Beast. The fact that she's there and she can't really go anywhere. He has her basically confined to her room, and he says that dinner is at, I think he said 8, and that everyone goes to dinner, and she like puts her foot down because he was basically like telling her, this is what you're going to do and you're going to do it because I said so. You're going to obey me, type of thing. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. She's very pissed off at Mickey for doing what he did in book 1 to her. So she is putting her foot down. And so he basically says, well, you're not going to have food then. You're not going to eat with me? No food for you. So it was very like Beauty and the Beast-esque to me, and I'm only halfway through, so I'm sure there's going to be more, but this is so totally going to be a 5-star read. I can already tell. Pirates, Beauty and the Beast, I'm here for it. So, with that said, 2 5-star reads. These were the best books I read this month, And here's all the books that I read this month, and it's not just a Dana thing. I think all of us drop books. Come on. Okay. Tell me, have you read any of these books? Do you plan on reading any of these? I highly recommend some, if not all. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you liked any of these, if you plan on reading. What should I read next? I'm always here for recommendations. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you're not a subscriber and you want to be, I would love you forever for it. But until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!